Good morning, everyone. How are you today? What a grand day to actually have this announcement. This is the Sunshine Coast, reflecting exactly what the Sunshine Coast is all about. Great weather, great people, and great initiatives, leading the way in Queensland and Australia. I'm Mike Whittaker. I'm the CEO of the Sunshine Coast Council, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here today to the official opening of the Aerodrome Road intersection, but more importantly, the opening to our new CBD at Maroochydore and for the Sunshine Coast. And it's an important milestone in the development of our city centre and our region. It's a journey which has been many years in the making, led by our Sunshine Coast Council, supported by our development manager, Sun Central Maroochydore. But first, I have to do some important acknowledgements. We have some very important people here today, and I want to thank them for coming along for this opening. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the honour to actually acknowledge that we actually have the Minister for Local Government, Minister for Racing, and the Minister for Multicultural Affairs, the Honourable Stirling Hinchcliffe. Thank you, Mr. Minister. A man who needs no announcement or identification, but our Mayor for the Sunshine Coast Council, Mayor Mark Jamieson. I'd like to also recognise that we actually have the Federal Member for Fairfax, Mr. Ted O'Brien. I'm sure Ted's in the crowd there. We have the State Member for Maroochydore, Fiona Simpson. Hi Fiona, great supporter of the CBD. And we have a number of Sunshine Coast councillors. And I'm going to ask them just to wave their hand, because you need to always put a name to a face, because they really have shown great leadership on this project. Councillor Rick Babarowski. Councillor Peter Cox. Councillor John Connolly. Councillor Christian Dixon. Councillor Stephen Robinson. And Councillor Greg Rogerson. A great team backing the Mayor, leading your city. We also have our representatives from Sun Central Maroochydore. We actually have Dr. Doug McTaggart, who is the chair of that particular company that's fully owned by council. And we have a number of his directors, Mr. Don Boyd. We also have Mr. Morgan Parker, Alison Quinn, and I think there is also, I'm not sure, Mr. Paul McLean in the audience. They are a well-credentialed and highly skilled board that are leading this development on council's behalf. There's also the CEO of that company, Mr. John Nags, in the audience. Thanks, John. And we have a whole host of other very important people, which is you. At the end, I'm going to acknowledge some of my staff, but we'll do that at the very end. There are a number of activities we're going to undertake this morning, and I invite every one of you to participate. Following our speakers, Minister Hinchcliffe and the Mayor will cut the ribbon and open the first streets of our new city centre to you, our community. Having roads that give you better access gives you a better relationship with the place and with your fellow citizens. It is a very exciting time. We'll then walk up First Avenue, where the Mayor will unveil the new urban square. You're going to see the quality of the park of the future for the Sunshine Coast, and it is extraordinary. It's a real lift than probably what you've been used to. For the media, there'll be an opportunity for questions at the end when we complete the ceremony at the parkland. But most importantly, the land we're actually on is the land of the Kabi Kabi people. And I want to acknowledge that, and it's most important that we actually have some welcome to country. And it's fitting that we actually have Helena Goulash, who is an elder of the Kabi Kabi, to do that welcome to country. Helena, would you please come to the lectern?
Thank you very much. And what a beautiful day it is to be here. Nara, hello from Kabi Kabi peoples, and a warm welcome to this beautiful part of our country. I would like to acknowledge our wonderful Mayor, and our ministers and other local members and all the other dignitaries who've been named. Cubby Cubby peoples, we're a very large group of peoples who have our connections that go back tens and tens of thousands of years. Cubby Cubby peoples were here for a long, long time, and we still are. And we're very excited about this type of development because it will benefit the Sunshine Coast and particularly future generations. It's also a wonderful opportunity to have a central space where more knowledge can be shared about Cubby Cubby peoples, our histories, our cultural heritage, the very strong connection to the broader area of our country, which extends right from Redcliffe right up to north of Noosa, including the Cooloola National Park, and then the hinterland and inland, including Gympie and Kilkievan, Caboolture, very large area. Clearly, that is the area of the larger group, the Cubby Cubby language group. Within that area, there are a lot of smaller groups that spoke various dialects of Cubby Cubby language. This area is located right in the heart of a highly significant area for Cubby Cubby peoples culturally. The Maroochydore River, very important to Cubby Cubby peoples. And along the coastline on either side, including the Mooloolah, Lullabar waterfronts, and that beautiful area up on the other side of the river around the Twin Waters area, but also that wonderful, that majestic monolith, Coolum. Coolum is our Uluru of the Sunshine Coast, and the significance is at least as great. Coolum is one of our ancestral beings, our ancestors from the very earliest time of creation. There's a wonderful storyline that stretches back through to Nindari, another ancestral being, and Majimba is included in the important storyline too. This development here provides a wonderful opportunity for Cubby Cubby peoples to share a lot of that knowledge through a whole range of opportunities that are presented. Cubby Cubby peoples always celebrated our connection to country through dance and song. This CBD will provide a wonderful space for a lot more of those opportunities to present the very rich cultural history, the rich stories about the spiritual connection to country. Cubby Cubby peoples have always contributed a lot to looking after this country and building for future generations. We were the original environmentalists, the original peoples caring for our country and living sustainably to protect it well into the future. We were the original business people in terms of the industries such as fishing and a whole range of other industries. Cubby Cubby peoples were involved in sharing a lot of knowledge about where the resources were, about sustainability. Also, the first tourist guides and cultural tourism was active in those very early days of contact. We look forward to working much more closely with the Mayor and his council and with Sun Central to look at how Cubby Cubby peoples can share a lot more so that the community and all visitors to the Sunshine Coast can start to gain a deeper appreciation of the richness that is here in our country, in this area. So we are very excited about the future. We're very keen to be bringing more and more Cubby Cubby peoples back home. We have a lot of young people and we look forward to working closely with everyone to build solid foundations for our future generations, as well as the future generations of the whole community. So thank you very much for the honour of being here today, and enjoy the visit. Thank you.
Thank you, Helena, for that heartfelt welcome. It's something special when you can actually have that connection to your history and your place, and Helena has explained it very well. I'm now going to call on Minister Hinchcliffe to actually give the welcome and the introduction from the Queensland Government. Minister Hinchcliffe.
Thank you very much, Michael. Before I do begin, I want to respectfully acknowledge the Kabi people, the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which this event is taking place, and that this recreation, this imagining of the future of the Maroochydore city centre is occurring. I particularly in that context want to acknowledge and thank Auntie Helena Goulash for her welcome to country. I also want to acknowledge my parliamentary colleague, Ms Fiona Simpson, member for Maroochydore. Mayor Jamieson, thank you for your partnership and with the Queensland Government and leadership on this project alongside your councillors and indeed the board members of and CEO of Sun Central and all the other community leaders that are here. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a really wonderful opportunity to be able to represent the Queensland Government at this historic opening. And on that note, I want to thank everyone from the Sunshine Coast, but particularly Sunshine Coast Regional Council, but particularly Mayor Jamieson for inviting me along today. The Maroochydore City Centre is a game-changing development for the Sunshine Coast. It's one of 32 priority development areas across Queensland that have been earmarked for development to benefit the communities. And incidentally, as I've come up the road from Brisbane this morning, the first weekend of the exhibition, it's interesting to note that the first PDA was the Cleedon Bowen Hills at the site of the Brisbane exhibition grounds about a decade ago, a little over a decade ago. And we see now the way in which that historic element of the city of Brisbane has been reimagined as a vibrant community hub with new commercial and residential buildings, entertainment and food areas, plans for further residential housing, walkways and cycleways, but all with a nod to the nature and culture of that part of the city. And I am very confident that the Maroochydore City Centre PDA has those elements in mind as well. It keeps and maintains a nod to the beautiful and very unique Sunshine Coast style and nature, but provides massive opportunities for the future of the area and economic opportunities for everyone across the Sunshine Coast. Because the Sunshine Coast has so much to offer, and I'm confident that we'll see that re-energised area right here in the heart of Maroochydore, a place covering 60 hectares that will be a showcase for design, innovation and technology. It'll have a lively mix of commercial, retail and residential buildings, new road transport, public open spaces, community facilities and much needed infrastructure. And that's why the Palaszczuk government is so pleased to have committed $12.6 million under the Economic Development Queensland's Catalyst Infrastructure Program to upgrade 3 nearby intersections, because it's important that Maroochidore's transport infrastructure can keep up with the growing population. So these upgrades, delivered in partnership with the Sunshine Coast Regional Council, include 2 new 4-way intersections located at Maud Street and Bungama Street and Maud Street and Dolby Street. And you've seen those coming to life over recent times right in this community. And of course, we also have the new 4-way intersection at the corner of First Avenue and Aerodrome Road that we'll have the chance to wander down as we go. These upgrades will provide better access, making it easier for residents and visitors to enjoy the benefits of the new city centre. And urban renewal right across our urban centres is important. And it's particularly important here on the Sunshine Coast. And that's why I congratulate your council on its leadership in this space. In the next 15 years, the Sunshine Coast region is expected to see its population pass the 500,000 mark, making it one of the 10 most populated regions in Australia. That means the Sunshine Coast will be bigger than the capitals of Hobart and Darwin, and hot on the heels of the total populations of the ACT and Tasmania. Finding accommodation, work opportunities, schools and tertiary education centres for the additional 150,000 people presents significant challenges for all governments at all levels, and for all communities. And our latest state budget was about delivering for all Queenslanders, and that means better health services, better schools, and state building infrastructure. A significant proportion of the recent state budget will support growth in the Sunshine Coast and Moreton Bay regions, with 2019-20 alone committing to $1.5 billion on infrastructure projects that will support some 4,700 jobs, $4.8 billion for hospital and health services, and Hazenat University Hospital made a huge difference to the Sunshine Coast, and $218.3 million to maintain, improve and upgrade our wonderful, fantastic schools in this community. But perhaps, friends, the best evidence of the way in which we're working to support your region is our partnerships with Council and indeed with the federal government that are equally important to deliver the infrastructure necessary to meet future growth. On this score, the South East Queensland City deal, supported by all levels of government, it's crucial to our wider region's future. And I want to thank the Mayor for his leadership in that space as well. We've all seen the issues that have been faced by cities like Sydney and Melbourne, and it's absolutely vital that as a government we make sure that our infrastructure doesn't just suit us today, but continues to suit the demands of Queenslanders 5, 10, 20 years from now. To avoid these growth issues, the Queensland Government has been working with the SEQ Council of Mayors to deliver a plan to make our region better, not just bigger. The Sunshine Coast Regional Council has been an invaluable contributor to this dialogue, and we hope that a city deal for SEQ will help avoid the politicisation of critical infrastructure projects going forward. We are committed to engaging with the civic, business and industry leaders to make sure this deal delivers the best possible outcomes for the next 20 years of growth. But it's a wonderful opportunity now to hear from the Mayor, I think, next, and then have this opportunity to mark the completion of and opening of this gateway to the city centre, to the Maroochydore city centre. It's so exciting to see the development evolve, and having been part of some of the initial discussions in a ministerial role in a government far in the past, having seen this transformation from the golf course that was here before, it's exciting to see this aspiration and the way in which this is transforming this community and providing many, many opportunities for many years ahead. Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you, Minister, particularly for your past support, but also we know the future support that's coming over the next 20 years. I'm now going to call on the Mayor, Mark Jamieson, a man who needs no real introduction because he's really been leading us from the front for a number of years now. Mr. Mayor.
Thanks. Well, thank you very much, Michael, and good morning, everybody. It's lovely to see so many people here today. I want to recognise Helena and thank her very much for her welcome to country, acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather. I also want to acknowledge the Honourable Stirling Hinchcliffe as our Minister for Local Government. It's great to have him here today. Fiona Simpson, my councillor colleagues, Councillor Babarowski, Cox, Connolly, Dixon, Robinson and Rogerson. Thank you very much, councillors, for being here. Obviously our CEO, Doug McTaggart, and his board of directors, including Don Boyd, Morgan Parker, Alison Quinn, and former member Michael Kerry. Obviously John Naggs and his team from Sun Central. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of the Sunshine Coast. It's great to be here on what is without a doubt one of the most special and historic days in our Sunshine Coast. Today we not only acknowledge the completion of this new intersection between Aerodrome Road, Maud Street and First Avenue, but also mark the opening of the first stage of the site that will be the home of the new city centre in Maroochydore, the heart of the Sunshine Coast. Those of you who remember it as a golf course will no doubt be surprised by what you see today. and it's only fitting that the first opportunity to open the site is one that we share with our great community. This will be your city centre, and when completed, the commercial and civic heart of our region. Today is a day for residents to start to see for themselves the layout of our new CBD and get a perspective on what their new city centre will look like, feel like, and indeed be like. More on that in a moment. The new Aerodrome Road intersection behind us here is an important marker in the evolution of the new city and indeed our region. Importantly, it provides a gateway to the geographic heart of Maroochydore and the broader Sunshine Coast. Everything here has been designed for a purpose and with the long-term success of our city centre in mind. From the bespoke timber bus stops to the large tree species we see throughout the CBD. Digital wayfinding signage makes it easy to get around, whilst future-proofing mass transit corridors will make it easier to adapt to new transport solutions in the years ahead. The immediate impact of the new intersection will be to reduce travel times and an easing of congestion at one of the busiest intersections on the Sunshine Coast. Our council is very grateful to the state government for its support for these works through the provision of a $12.6 million interest-free loan under its Catalyst infrastructure program. Currently, the Aerodrome Road First Avenue intersection carries 35,000 vehicles per day, 2,700 vehicles in peak periods. But Aerodrome Road will no longer be the convergence point for all traffic in and out of the busiest part of Maroochydore. With the opening of the first stage of the city centre, drivers will now have the alternative parallel route linking Maud Street to Plaza Parade and indeed the Sunshine Plaza. This is forecast to reduce peak period travelling times along Aerodrome Road by up to 7% and provide some relief to the congestion we currently experience in First Avenue. The long-term benefits are substantial, but the short-term gains for the region have also been important, with the intersection upgrading delivering 68 construction jobs and 74 professional service jobs. In addition, 81% of expenditure on the project, not including council labour, occurred here in our own local economy. But what we see today is just the start of what will unfold in this area over the coming years. We've come a long way since 2012, when council first acquired the former Horton Park Golf Course for our new city centre. Since that time, the site has been declared, as the Minister said, a priority development area by the Queensland Government, and council has established a separate company, Sun Central Maroochydore, to oversee the development. From the very start, council's vision has been twofold: vastly improve the transport linkages and connectivity within and around Maroochydore, and a significant part of that objective is being realised with the Aerodrome Road intersection upgrade and the opening of the new road network to the CBD. And the second element of that vision has been to deliver an attractive, livable, contemporary and technologically advanced city centre for the 21st century that our community can be proud to call its own. To achieve this, we're taking advantage of the rare opportunity of having a greenfield site that enables us to build in the digital infrastructure from day one and from the ground up, in fact from under the ground. While other city centres play catch up and retrofit to take advantage of new technology, ours will be a healthy, smart and creative city right from the start. And this is not about using technology for the sake of technology, but smart solutions are being deployed throughout the city centre, which will make it an enviable and dynamic location to work, to live, to invest and indeed to come and enjoy yourselves. The new city centre will be amongst the most technologically advanced in the country, with 3 separate fibre optic networks from the national broadband network, the Telstra network and council's own smart city network. The electricity consumption of council-owned infrastructure in the city centre, including street lights and community facilities, will be completely offset by green energy produced from our Sunshine Coast solar farm at Valdora. Smart poles already in place, and you'll see them today on the CBD streets. These wireless poles can be fitted with Wi-Fi, environmental sensors, people and vehicle counters, digital signage, LED lights and fibre optic cable, to name a few. The environmental sensors will monitor temperature, pollution or pollen levels and send alerts when changes are detected. This helps us to improve the ambient temperature of public spaces such as parks to make it more attractive for our residents and for our many visitors. LED lights can be turned on and off automatically and slowly, especially during the twilight and morning and evening. This will reduce carbon dioxide emissions, reduce electricity consumption and reduce energy consumption by up to 14%. All of which is in keeping with our Council's strong commitment to take real action on climate change and better positioning our region to adapt to the changing climate. LED lights will provide artistic lighting in public areas such as the centrepiece of our city centre, Foundation Square, which you'll all get a chance to see in a few moments. The Maroochydore City Centre will host Australia's first automated underground waste collection system, and that really is a great first. When installation is completed and operational, it is expected that this will increase recycling rates and create a cleaner, healthier and more attractive city centre for residents, businesses and visitors. But the other smart solution which will make an even bigger difference is the connection to the international broadband submarine cable network. When the cable comes ashore by the middle of next year, it will connect to the cable landing station presently being constructed in Maud Street, and that will be opened next month. Maroochydore, indeed our Sunshine Coast, will offer the fastest data and telecommunications transmission from the eastern seaboard of Australia to Asia. It will also position our region to become Australia's first digital trade hub, taking a region-wide approach to data and digital connectivity. Something that we have put on the table as part of negotiating with the federal and state governments on the new city deal for South East Queensland. An initiative that will help provide a whole new future for our region and our community, with technology jobs that will be in high demand, better access to facilities and services, and a whole new horizons opened up for some of our traditional industries, particularly the food and agribusiness sector. So that's where we're headed. There are many steps to get to that final outcome. In fact, this will be a project that takes at least 20 years to complete. We're presently in year 4, with some outstanding commitments already in place. With Evans Long starting work a fortnight ago on their $30 million commercial and retail development, Habitat Development Group committing to its $80 million residential and Soho development, and Proho Invest's commitment to a 167-room business hotel, which is proposed to commence construction later this year. And of course, Council's own City Hall for the Sunshine Coast, which will reinforce Maroochydore as a civic centre for our region. We've certainly come a long way, and today is an important milestone, and I'm grateful that so many of you have joined us. Now, it's not important just for Maroochydore, it's important for the entire Sunshine Coast. And at this point, I want to particularly acknowledge and thank my fellow councillors for the determination and commitment, and indeed the grit they've shown to bring this project to life. They've had the foresight, the commitment and the determination to stick with the vision that we set for this project and stay the course along the way. Without that, we would never have got to this point. Also, I want to acknowledge Dr. Doug McTaggart, the chairman of our board at Sun Central, and the staff from Sun Central for the great contribution they've made, along with Michael Whittaker as the CEO of Council, and all of the Council staff who have been actively involved in this project for such a long time. We're a council that wants to deliver for our community. These are the sort of investments that you should be very proud of. So ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls, thank you for coming along today on what we'd describe as an average winter's day on the Sunshine Coast. I'd encourage everyone here now to walk with myself and the Minister as we walk into Foundation Place, where we'll cut the ribbon and then walk into Foundation Place and unveil a plaque there that really sets our great new city off. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, enjoy yourself and make the most of what will be a great day. Thank you. That's great. All right, we'll get on the other side.
Righto, Mark. Whenever you're ready, gentlemen.
Okay, there we are, folks.
where you'll actually put your waste in here. It'll actually be held in a chamber. There'll be an automatic sensor that will actually pick that up, and then it'll go through pipes underground. And you'll see over there's a new concrete structure that's actually being finished. The waste will be piped over there like water and sewage, and it'll actually go to that point where it'll be picked up and taken away. So you won't have a need for the large waste trucks coming through the CBD, and therefore the amenity and the ability for the flow of vehicles and people will be so much more efficient, because waste trucks come early in the morning or late in the evenings, and you know how big they are and how much noise they make. So this will change the whole atmosphere of this CBD, which is very exciting.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, just a very important part of today is to actually recognise the foundation of the city, and clearly Foundation Square here with the City Hall adjacent, and a range of other buildings going in over time, will be a really important place for people on the Sunshine Coast to come. I'm sure they'll come here to celebrate, the next Lightning netball win, the Sunshine Coast Falcons winning. They'll come here to celebrate our surf stars. They'll come here to perhaps protest sometimes as well about things that they're concerned about. But this will really provide the Sunshine Coast with a genuine city heart where people can come and reflect, enjoy themselves, but also make their presence felt as a community. And on that,
This might just help a little bit, I think. Sorry about that.
and yeah, no, that's right.
Okay.
And on that note, I just want to, with the Minister, declare the city centre open, and in particular Foundation Square open. I want to acknowledge, as I did a moment ago, the councillors who are here today and those who aren't, who really did demonstrate, tremendous consistency, tremendous determination when there were, the odd critic around, as you get sometimes. But this has been an outstanding success and will continue to be a wonderful location for our community. So thank you, councillors, very much. Fantastic work. Minister, I think we've got a pull here, and there we are.
Well done.